soon as the game ended, some guys already looking forward to the schedule and seeing who we play and what the matchups could be like. So we're extremely excited to get the ball rolling there and try and show out for all our fans.
Welcome to episode 345 of Alberta Dugout Stories, the podcast. I'm Joe McFarland, and then there were 8. The WCBL playoffs get underway tonight, assuming you're listening here on Wednesday. We'll preview all 4 of the playoff series in just a little bit with Ian Wilson, but before we get there, the news. And we'll start in Major League Baseball, where we have some bad news to report for Calgary's Michael Soroka. The newly acquired Chicago Cubs starter is heading to the injured list again after his first start with the team on Sunday. He lasted just 2 innings, allowing 1 run on 1 hit and 1 walk while striking out 3 before he felt some discomfort in his shoulder and had to be replaced. Hopefully he's not on the shelf for too long. Edmonton's Eric Sabrowski has become a workhorse out of the bullpen for the Cleveland Guardians, who were sellers, interestingly enough, at the trade deadline. He made 3 appearances in 4 days to start August and now boasts a 1.32 ERA in 13 appearances, striking out 21 in 13-plus innings of work. And former Okotoks Dogs outfielder Jacob Melton is back in the minors as his Houston Astros went on a bit of a shopping spree at the trade deadline. He's in AAA with the Sugar Land Space Cowboys, making his first appearance with them on Sunday, going 1 for 3 with an RBI single and a stolen base. Also in the minors, congratulations to former Dog Matt Lloyd on being named the Canadian Baseball Network's Minor League Player of the Week. It's the 3rd time he's picked up that recognition this season. The Memphis Redbird slugger hit .417 with a homer and 5 RBI during the week. One has to wonder if he gets called up when rosters expand September 1st. Speaking of guys who might get the call up when those rosters expand, is a guy we've talked about a lot here on the show. Tristan Peters has been making the case for being called up all season with the AAA Durham Bulls. He's hitting .285 with 11 homers and 57 RBI this season. Bigger Saskatchewan native and Vauxhall Academy grad Garrett Hawkins is on the way up. After going 8-1 with a 1.43 ERA and 8 saves and 32 relief appearances in High A Fort Wayne, he's been promoted to the AA San Antonio Missions, where he made his first appearance on Saturday. He allowed no runs on 2 hits and 3 strikeouts in a 2-inning save against the Frisco Rough Riders. One guy we haven't talked a lot about this year is Matt Wilkinson. The former Dog standout has admittedly had a rough 2025 after an eye-popping last season. He's 3-9 on the campaign with a 5.15 ERA in 20 starts, although he's still strong in the strikeout department with 92 in 80-plus innings of work. And another guy we haven't talked a lot about this year is Vauxhall Academy grad Damiano Palmaggiani. He's been on and off the development list for the Buffalo Bisons in AAA and spent some time in Dunedin recently. He was promoted back to Buffalo on Friday and has 1 hit, 1 RBI, and 7 at-bats since his return. In the West Coast League, the Edmonton Riverhawks are playoff bound. As we record this, they are 19-7 with 2 games remaining in the season and tied for first place in the second half standings. A big shout out to friend of the show, Reese Hemmerling, as he tossed 6 innings of no-hit ball in a 7-0 win over Kelowna on Sunday. He leads the team with 34 strikeouts on the season to go along with a 3-3 record and a 2.61 ERA. In other news from the baseball world around Alberta, congratulations to the St. Albert Cardinals on capturing the Baseball Alberta Elite League Championship with a thrilling 5-4 extra innings win over the Calgary Cubs. They will now head to Fort McMurray for the Baseball Canada U18 National Championships in a couple of weeks. We have tournament MVP Jace Richardson joining us in just a few minutes. You can also head to albertadugoutstories.com as guest contributor Gord Montgomery was there and filed a special story for us. And congratulations as well to the Saskatoon Cubs on winning the Saskatchewan Premier Baseball League title. They'll also be heading to Fort McMurray for nationals. You can head to SaskatchewanDugoutStories.com for my story on that Cubs victory. It's been a busy few weeks with provincial champions being crowned by Baseball Alberta. Congratulations to all of the winning teams and to the communities on their outstanding hosting performances. At the Little League Canada National Championships, Rocky Mountain Little League is still in the hunt for Alberta. They finished the round robin 3-3 to finish in the 3rd seed. They are taking on BC in the semifinal today, being Wednesday, with the championship set for Thursday. Baseball Canada National Championship season is underway as Weber Academy played host to to the inaugural 19U Women's Championship over the past week. Congratulations to Quebec on taking home the title, while Ontario won silver. Saskatchewan picked up bronze, and we'll hear from Defensive Player of the Tournament, being Saskatoon's Addie Ziebart, coming up on the show a little later on. Unfortunately, at that tournament, Alberta went 0-4 in the round robin, then lost in the 7th place game. The Women's Open Championship is getting going in Quebec City this weekend, as does the 22U Men's Championship in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. The Canada Summer Games is next, set to begin on Sunday. Now on to this week's guests, and we'll start in the Western Canadian Baseball League as playoffs begin tonight, again assuming that you're listening here on a Wednesday. 8 teams remain of the 12-team circuit after a playoff race, particularly in the West, that went to the last day of the season. It'll be Okotoks taking on Brooks, Sylvan Lake battling Lethbridge, Saskatoon up against Moose Jaw, and Medicine Hat facing Regina. To break it all down, we welcome our own Ian Wilson. As always, Ian, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Joe.
How excited are you for the playoffs to finally get underway?
I cannot wait. It feels like it's been a longer wait than normal to get to the playoffs, and I'm ready for it. This is what you play for. This is what you cheer for, what you watch for, and this is the fun. This is the fun stuff. So let's bring it on.
Well, let's get into the 4 series and break it down a little bit for everybody listening, because it's been a wild and woolly kind of regular season. We got the rainouts, we've got the cancellation, all kinds of drama with weather-related things. I mean, it's been a year, but now we're down to 8. And let's start in the East. Saskatoon and Moose Jaw, 1v4. When you look at that matchup, what sticks out to you?
Well, first of all, tip of the cap to the Berries for setting a new wins record in the league. You know, Sylvan Lake Gulls had 44 wins last season. I thought, wow, that's really good. That might be tough to beat. And Saskatoon just rolls in the next season and says, you know what, how about 46 wins? I think we can do that. And we can do that in one less game. We'll do it in 55 games. So you can't do something like that unless you're really, really good. The Berries are incredibly good. Their offense is spectacular. We saw what Ethan Menard, Ethan Murdoch, and Carter Beck and all those great hitters are capable of. Their pitching's been great too. They've got a fantastic bullpen and lots of arms available to them there. So they're a machine, and it's going to take quite a Herculean effort for the Miller Express to beat them. The Miller Express have that recent success, though. They've come out of the East 2022 and last year and gave the Dogs a good push in the final. So they're battle tested. Eric Marriott and the coaching staff, Mike Gonzalez, they know what to do come playoffs. And on top of that, the thing that I really look at with Moose Jaw is their bats and their offense. So you've got Thomas Soto set a record for runs scored this season, a WCBL record, not a team record. You've got Will Edwards, who led the league, tied the RBI record for a single season. He led the league in doubles, came close to that record as well, and led the league in hits. And so, I mean, just those two guys are great. Like Will Edwards, I think you said this before, he kind of stepped into that Nate Mensick role incredibly well. You kind of thought, oh, geez, they're without Nate Mensick this year. What's going to happen? And then Austin Gurney just does what Austin Gurney does. He just hits for contact, hits for power, gets on base, and produces runs. So those 3 guys alone, and they've got more to their offense than that. But they'll get you with their bats. What I'm concerned about is the pitching. I don't know if they have enough arms. And, can you pitch? Can you have Weston Walls pitch, I don't know, 20 innings in 3 days? Because it might take that. And even Weston Walls, he led the league in strikeouts and innings pitched. So he's got a lot of miles on him already. And he was still prone to giving up hits and runs. So I don't, he's a great pitcher. I don't know if there's enough meat on that bone with the pitching staff. But so all of that intrigues me. I'm curious to know what you think. What are you looking at there?
I will say ditto first off, because that seems to be the easy answer. I look at Saskatoon and go, they don't look weak. Although, when they came through Alberta, They split with Okotoks. They split with Lethbridge. They lost 2 of 3 to Regina recently. And again, end of the season, you've kind of taken the foot off the gas a little bit. You haven't really faced a whole lot of adversity. So I'm curious how Saskatoon handles it if they do face any. And given to your point about Moose Jaw, last year they were the number 4 team going into against Regina, and they swept them. So I think Saskatoon's got a bit of the warning sign, like, hey, don't do what Regina did last year. So they've got that recency bias to a certain extent. To your point, I think for Moose Jaw, their biggest thing is going to be pitching and defense. They can't give up any free runs. They know that this talented Saskatoon offense is going to tear you apart if you allow 1 or 2 extra hits. In the wins that Moose Jaw did take, they were both, I believe, 1-run ball games. It's going to be that kind of, they need those kinds of games, and they just need 2 out of 3 nights for that to happen. So, again, obviously Saskatoon's the favorite, but it feels as though Eric Marriott and company are ready for that and almost love the underdog mentality. So it's going to be an intriguing series to watch, because I think we've had some recent the recent ability to look back on what Moose Jaw can bring to the table. Let's move to the other one in the East. It's Medicine Hat and Regina. I don't know if you could draw up a more evenly matched first round 2v3 series than Regina and Medicine Hat, but here we are. You've seen these two teams battle live in person. What do you expect to see out of these two for a 3-game series?
Yeah, let me start by saying I love this matchup if it's the two teams that were there a month ago. So, and what I mean by that is Regina has lost pretty much their whole starting rotation of pitchers. Blake Johnson, who is second in ERA in the league, has gone south, back to school or back home. Colton Anderson, the most outstanding pitcher of the year last year, he's gone. Kyle Langford, gone. In terms of bats, they lost Jackson Searing, who, of course, was a beast. Like he's a heart and soul guy, and I believe he turned pro. I think he signed pro somewhere. So you can't blame him for leaving. So I love that matchup. I'm not sure it's there for Regina. I'm not sure they've signed a lot of players and bringing a lot of guys in, but they just lost so much of their roster at the worst possible time. So I don't know if they're going to be able to have enough there to defeat Medicine Hat. And Medicine Hat's just kind of been solid. Like they've just been quietly good. They've been about, they're obviously overshadowed by Saskatoon because everything has been about the Berries and their torrid play all season. And Medicine Hat, meanwhile, is just like, yep, we're winning too. We're 15 games over 500 or whatever they are, and solid batting, decent pitching. Again, nothing that is mind-blowing, but I just think I'm kind of giving the edge to Medicine Hat there because I just worry that Regina has lost too much off their roster. But again, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, first off, like I mentioned, Regina beat Saskatoon twice in the last couple of weeks here, 2 out of 3. And so I'm really quick to not write Regina off in this situation. And to your point, it is going to amount to pitching because Medicine Hat has a very good offense. We saw that in the first, 10 games of the season when they were putting up 10 runs or 12 runs a game. It was ridiculous. And they did taper off a little bit, but they are prone to having some of those games, especially at home, where they feel comfortable. The friendly confines of Athletic Park have been very good to the Medicine Hat Mavericks. And the Volcano brothers and Evan Morrison and some of their big bats come alive, and all of a sudden it's really quickly 6-0 Med Hat, and you've just blinked, right? So for Regina, the key is, I feel like a broken record, but I think this time of year pitching is always going to be the X factor for any team. If Regina's new faces, which Ryan company have done a pretty good job of bringing in some new faces who are ready to go, then it's going to be a much tighter battle. However, I have no doubt in my mind that Medicine Hat's looking at that, licking their chops a little bit, saying, hey, if we can get to them early and get into their bullpen, then we've got a chance. You look at, even there was a game between Regina and Moose Jaw at the end of the season. It was, again, a mammoth score to a mammoth score. Medicine Hat's not going to lose a lot of those track meets just based off of their offensive prowess. So, again, I give the edge to Medicine Hat here, but don't be surprised if Regina comes knocking and says, hey, don't forget we're pretty good too and have been for quite some time. So, again, I'm not marrying myself to any predictions because I don't like being whiteboard material. And I think as somebody who happens to work with the WCBL, I'm pretty sure Ian doesn't want to be in the same boat as well. Let's flip the switch now into the West, and 1v4 this time around. The Okotoks Dogs and the Brooks Bombers. Again, on paper, it looks like this one should be no doubt about it. The Okotoks Dogs have been, I feel like they've been understated this year, as weird as the three-time defending champions can be understated. When you've got Saskatoon doing what they've been doing, a lot of expectations around Sylvan Lake. Lethbridge has quietly done their thing. Okotoks is just like, yeah, we're just going to keep beating teams, and they beat Brooks pretty handily this year. However, when you look at what last year brought, the Brooks Bombers went into a first-round series with the Sylvan Lake Gulls and made some people nervous in Sylvan Lake. A 4-0 score and a 4-1 or 4-2 score in those two games. It was way closer than a lot of people would have given. When you look at this series, Ian Wilson, what stands out to you as maybe an X factor for both the Okotoks Dogs and the Brooks Bombers?
I do think it's the David Goliath, all of that. I also think the default setting for Okotoks right now is championship. They proved that last year when they had that older senior gritty team that they went the distance in all those series, and they still are like, we're winning, we're finding a way, we'll do whatever it takes. I'm not sure that this roster is as good as last year's for Okotoks, but it's still, having said that, it's still very good. And they just know how to win. The coaching staff knows how. You've got Mitch Schmidt back this year, Big Bear. Does that add an extra layer of motivation for this group and for this team and everyone around it? That's quite possible. I'm not sure they need much more motivation. They just, like I said, all they do is win, 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 right? So, I do think they have a core of hitters that, you look at Connor Croson. We all know what he did to win the championship last year, walk-off homer in the bottom of the ninth. Logan Grant, this steady performer. Zane Scansey is a new guy coming in, and he's looked fantastic this season. So I think they've got your Nash Crowell. The list kind of goes on and on. I'm sure I'm forgetting. Ricky Sanchez.
Yeah.
Ricky Sanchez is probably the toughest out in that lineup, if not the league. And he's without his kind of middle infield mate, Mr. August. Brendan Luther is gone this season. But I just think, so they've got all those components there that are still capable of it. What I worry about with Okotoks, and not necessarily against Brooks, but through the course of the postseason, is that pitching, and particularly the starting pitching. Okotoks typically builds out a bullpen pretty nicely. I think they've got a pretty decent bullpen again this year, but you don't have the likes of Graham Brunner that you can just kind of toss out every, for a start a series, or at least two starts in your playoff run. And Brunner's going to get you at least 5 quality innings, if not 6. And and not get torched. That's a huge loss. And I don't know if they have a guy in their lineup that can do it. The other question mark, pitching-wise, is Ashton Luera, who's been with the team all season. He's pitched a little lately, but he was hurt throughout most of the year. And we saw what he did last year. He was insane and so fun to watch and just so good at wiping hitters out. Is he going to be back at full speed? Can he anchor that bullpen and give them the life that they need on the mound in the late innings? Because if he can, you got problems. From Brooks' side of things, you're right. They were quite good last season against Sylvan Lake, and they are They can surprise you a bit. They are still looking for their first playoff win. They've never won a game in the playoffs, so that's motivating for them. I worry about their starting pitching a bit. Maybe they've got guys who can handle those dogs' bats, maybe not. And I do think their bats, I think the middle of their lineup is pretty good. They have guys that can hit for power, hit to get on base. They've got great batting averages. CJ Snowden is the stolen base leader. And like 3 of the 4 top bats in that lineup can run and steal bases. So if they can cook a bit when they get to the batter's box, they might have a chance. And then they also have a kid from Red Deer, their closer, who's one of the best relievers, Heath Etchkowski. And if they can get in a close game in the late innings and give him the ball, they've got a shot. But there's no other way to say it. On paper, they are the underdog in a big, big way, and I expect that Okotoks will find a way, certainly in this first round. But I'm not trying to make predictions, but I feel like I can't help it here. And if Brooks is able to pull off an upset here, we'll be talking about that for a long, long time.
Absolutely, we will. It's interesting matchup in a couple of different ways. One, over the last few years, we've seen the Brooks Bombers have 2 or 3 guys up near the top of the home runs leaderboard. Not the case this year, and yet their offense didn't really struggle a whole lot. They actually played some really good 1 through 9 baseball, I found, and so their starting 9 always seemed to just kind of battle through and do what they needed to do, and it was really on display on the road. I noticed, especially in that 3-game set against Fort Mac in Fort Mac, it was 4-game set where they took 3 of 4, and you just got the sense that, hey, this is a team that they get a little bit of momentum, and all of a sudden a couple of hits here and a couple of hits there, and they've put up 4 or 5 runs. And you start to wear down some teams. And to your point, when you've got a Dogs team that's been battling a little bit on the mound, if that might play into the Brooks Bombers' favor a little bit. However, I'm never one to discredit what the Okotoks Dogs are capable of doing from a coaching perspective and bringing the best out of the players and finding them in good situations. I'll use a couple of examples, one being Ryan McFarland, the other being Brody Forno, as a couple of guys that you've seen out of the bullpen all year. And then we saw it a couple of years ago, Ryan McFarland makes a 7-inning appearance as a starter. And you ride the wave and you go, okay, this guy's really feeling it this year. Against Saskatoon, they bring in young Preston Toshnick, who throws 4+ innings of like 2-hit baseball. And you go, is this a kid that they're going to lean on maybe? I mean, he's been highly touted for a while. Maybe they're going to give it to the next guard. Maybe they've been finding these guys and going, okay, we're going to save you for some big innings when it matters the most. And so there's some intrigue there. And with the Brooks Bombers and Okotoks Dogs, they've played each other a lot this year. They played each other 10 times during the regular season. The Dogs did win 8 of those matchups. But at the same time, again, playoffs, everybody's 0-0, and all you need is a good appearance or 2 out of your pitching staff, and things can quickly go right or wrong for you. So a really interesting series to watch between the Okotoks Dogs and Brooks Bombers. The last one, maybe the most intriguing out of the 4, which says a lot because I thought Regina and Medhat were evenly matched. Well, stand aside for a second. The Sylvan Lake Gulls and Lethbridge Bulls are set to do battle in what was another 8 games play regular season series that both teams went 4-4. Ian, are you excited about this series, or as excited about this series as I am, because of how evenly matched these 2 teams are?
I think this will be the best series of the 4. I think this one is going to go the distance, and this one is a hard one to predict a winner in and break down. I think there's so many like these are 2 teams that last year went up against Okotoks and took them to 3 games and lost. Like they were good teams last year, they're good teams this year, and Okotoks just snuck past them, right? So particularly with Lethbridge in that extra innings marathon in the first round. So these are 2 teams that are hungry. Lethbridge is the last non-Okotoks team to win a championship since 2019. They won it in that COVID-shortened year. So they've tasted some success reasonably recently. And Sylvan Lake is just, they've been banging their heads against that wall to get a championship since they've joined the league now. And they're hungry for it. And the other element of intrigue is that head coach Jason Chatwood has publicly announced he's not returning as a skipper with the Gulls next year. He's going to step back, spend some time with family, which he's earned the right to do, and we wish him all the best in that. Will his team rally around him and help him achieve that dream of winning a title? And they'll have to get past Lethbridge first. And I think, on paper, we're kind of used to seeing these Gulls teams that, like last year's team, I think the coaching staff would probably agree with this, and people around the team. Last year's team was probably a stronger team. Mm-hmm. This year, they are a successful franchise. They know how to win, and they're a good team this year. I'm just not sure they're quite as good. And I think so. But I also think, again, they know how to build out a bullpen. They've got a pretty good bullpen. They've got that Josh Tucker guy, who's the all-time leader in strikeouts in the WCBL. He took that mantle from Graham Brunner this season. He's going to be hungry. He's in his final season. He's going to want to lay it all on the line, and he's a great pitcher. And then you look at, so I just don't know fully what to expect from the Gulls, but they're going to battle. They're going to be good. I think on paper, I look at Lethbridge, and I actually think they are probably, even though they're the 3 seed, I kind of like their roster build a little bit better. I think you look at, they've got the best pitcher in the league in Levi Abbott, who had 7-1 in 8 starts or whatever it was, lowest ERA in the league, second in strikeouts, highest in K per 9, just phenomenal, and lowest batting average against. And I talked to him at the All-Star game, just so calm, so zen, so just kind of chill. And I think he's unlocked something this summer. He's always been a good pitcher, but he looks so dominant. So if you get prime Levi Abbott coming in, you got to think he's going to get a win, at least one win, in that opening series. And then they've still got other good starting pitchers around them. It's not like he's the only guy there. You've also got the best closer in the game, Donovan Games, who had 8 saves this year. So that's really, that doesn't even touch on the bats. And I think their bats are a really good blend of table setters and power hitters. They've got guys who can get on. Bernie Sakaris won the batting title. He's a batting champ, 400 hitter. And I think then you've got behind him Jack Kaliski, who's power hitter. You've got Carter Clairhout, power hitter. You've got Brennan McTavish, who's kind of a hybrid of both those. He can hit for power and he can hit for contact as well. So I think you've got a pretty balanced roster all the way through. So I really think Lethbridge, I'd probably give Lethbridge the edge in that series. But again, Sylvan's just, there's so many X factors, and what can Coach Chatty kind of conjure up out of this group in his final go at it. So there's lots of intrigue there, and I still think it's going to be close. I don't think either team is going to leave that series without getting at least one win.
It's going to be fun. I can't wait to actually game one. My wife and I are doing a date night, and it seems to be always game one with Sylvan Lake in Sylvan Lake. We did Brooks and watch Josh Tucker just absolutely dominate the Brooks Bombers last year. Who knows what's going to happen this time around? As far as my keys, I remember going down for Canada Day to Lethbridge and talking to the coaching staff, and they said, man, we've got the pitching, but our offense is so hot and cold. Like some nights we're putting up 14 or 16 runs, and then the next night they're getting shut out. And it happened during their season series with the Sylvan Lake Gulls, where the Gulls pitching staff blanked them on 2 separate occasions, one 12-0 and one 7-0, which leads, when you look at the run differential between the two teams during their season series, it's heavily skewed towards Sylvan Lake, but only because of those 2 big games. You take those away, and all of a sudden, it's a very, very tight matchup. I think Lethbridge really wants those bats to come alive. It's one thing to get guys on base, but they really need to start cashing in some of those runners. On the flip side, as you mentioned, Sylvan Lake's got a really good, almost, I'll call it Okotoks-esque rollout of their bullpen. It's very methodical. Get our starters to go 5 or 6, and then I've got our guy for our 7th, we got our guy for our 8th, and then we got our guy for the 9th. And it seems to have worked gangbusters for them this year. Now, they don't have Tyler Boudreau. They have Josh Tucker, but how many games are you going to be able to get out of him during the course of this postseason? That's going to be a big factor. Can a Hunter Jones take up some of the reign? Can a Kai Rempel do that kind of thing? Who's going to be that next man up who gets them the 5 or 6 innings that they need in game 2 or game 3? Because as you mentioned, you need to be able to keep up with a Levi Abbott or Brett Getz or some of the other guys on that Lethbridge pitching staff that have been absolutely dominant this year. So I'm excited to see how all of these pieces play in. To your point, I don't think Sylvan Lake is as talented as they were a year ago, but they've played some of the best baseball post-Canada Day of any team. Like, they were 14-14, I think, at one point during the season, and they finished the season with, I think, 20 losses. So they were playing 20-6 baseball through the end of through July and August. So they often say the best teams and the championship teams are the ones that finish the best in July, end of July and early August. So will that hold true? The Sylvan Lake Gulls certainly hope so. And for the Lethbridge Bulls, they're just hoping that their pitching staff can do what they keep doing and their offense comes to bat for sure. Ian, it's going to be an intriguing few days of baseball here. We're going to set things up for round 2 once we get there, and then, of course, the championship series as well. Always appreciate your insights. Thank you so much for joining us here on the show.
Thanks for having me, and enjoy the playoffs. It's going to be fun.
Next up, we head to the Baseball Alberta Elite League, where the St. Albert Cardinals are the newly crowned champions. They knocked off the Calgary Cardinals 5-4 in an extra innings thriller on home turf. It was a wild end featuring a balk and then a wild pitch to score the winning run. In the end, utility man Jace Richardson was named the tournament MVP. We chatted with him on Tuesday about the championships and what's to come as the Cards head to Fort Mac for Nationals.
Jace, thanks so much for joining us here on the show.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you for having me.
St. Albert Cardinals 2025 Baseball Alberta Elite League champions. After a couple of days of sitting on it, how does that sound?
Yeah, it feels great, Joe. I mean, we put a lot of hard work into the season and just really tried to keep the ball rolling was the main goal, and we accomplished that, and we're very grateful for the opportunity.
Take us back to the beginning of the season. Did you know that you had a championship caliber squad going in?
Well, I mean, from the very start, we were very optimistic about the team. A lot of guys coming in, you know, some different faces here and there, especially for me joining the team on my first year. It didn't go as well as we hoped the first weekend, obviously, but after that, I felt like we really strived to almost never have that feeling again and just try and keep the wins going from there.
Well, he did exactly that. Walk us through this weekend and what maybe turned for you or what maybe set it apart from the rest where the team as a whole kind of took that step back and go, hey, we can do this.
Yeah, I feel like almost we were really good at staying patient through our moments. We weren't getting uptight or nervous about situations, or if we didn't come through in the first few innings, we stayed quite patient and waited through and had our magical 5th inning a couple times and just tried to stay with it.
Take us into that final and the back and forth. I mean, you guys had beaten up on the Cubs earlier on in the tournament, so was there a level of almost surprise to a certain extent that it was as tight as it was? Or walk us through the roller coaster ride that was that final game.
Yeah, obviously we had a big win against them earlier in the season, but we knew they were a very well-coached, well-performed team throughout the season. We respected them a lot going into the final, knew that they would be gritty and bring their best, whatever that was, and they did. And, we got a little bit nervous, I think, at the start, definitely. I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, obviously, but you could tell some of the younger guys who might not have had that experience before were feeling a little uptight or wanting to prove themselves in a way. Mm-hmm. But overall, we just tried to stay with it, you know, keep the energy up. That was the main thing. throughout the game. Definitely, the veterans were trying to keep us rolling with the energy, and it paid off in the end.
What's being said in the dugout as those innings are going on and you're thinking, okay, our back's kind of against the wall here. Like, we got to make something happen here sooner rather than later.
Yeah, well, I feel like we definitely had to keep our energy up a lot. Like, a lot of the time in the start, people, nerves going in. Everyone wants to be that hero, everyone wants to make that one big hit. And I felt like as the game progressed, we were more like, okay, let's keep calm. This pitcher's doing quite well, but we just stick to our approach. And, we've done this all year. Just be patient. And throughout the innings there, like fifth inning again, waited more, got some runners on base. Kazuki, obviously, with a massive double there that brought in 3 runs to tie the game and just kept the momentum going from there.
How wild was that 8th inning?
Yeah, that was a crazy time. Emotions going high. I was on the mound, obviously. I felt like the main thing was staying calm in the moment, but then once it was over, kind of letting it relax, reset, and then go back to work again.
And then you guys get the bats going, and kind of a crazy sequence of events, including a balk and then a wild pitch to end it. Who are you hugging first when that final run gets scored?
Well, we're definitely hugging starting pitcher Lincoln. He did an amazing job. I could tell he might have, because he's younger, a little bit nervous at the start, obviously, but he settled in and he did a phenomenal job throughout the weekend with lots of big hits and great base running. I felt like he was one of our key players, bringing lots of energy and useful stride, you could almost say, to the Diamonds. So, yeah, he was definitely a big part of that last sequence.
Talk a little bit about the celebration after. Who are you hugging, and what's that like getting to finally call yourselves champions?
Yeah, well, it was an amazing experience. Obviously, have to go to the veterans first. Carter Moffat, Nicholas Clemmer, Matthew Schneider as well, also coming into the team after playing on a different organization for a couple of years. So it felt great having all the veterans kind of coming together and getting this last win before they go off and have their college careers.
Mm-hmm. Looking at the team that you had in St. Albert, what set this team apart compared to other ones that you've been a part of that maybe allowed you guys to rise above and claim that championship?
Yeah, I felt like our character as a team, everyone was on the same page. You don't get that a lot of the time where everyone gels together. There's nothing going on in the clubhouse or behind the scenes. Everyone loved each other like family, and I think that was the main thing for us, was the belief in one another, and how even if you couldn't get things done, you just cheered on the next guy because your brother or whoever it is going to get it done for you.
How helpful is that from your perspective, given that you're kind of an outsider? You're a guy that came onto the team in the last year or two, but also as a guy who is a dual role guy, as somebody who gets to play the field and also be on the mound.
Yeah, I'm extremely grateful, obviously, for the opportunity. They took me in like family from day one, and I felt like it was a great atmosphere to be a part of. From the coaching to the management to groundskeepers, everyone doing their job and doing it phenomenally really helped us go throughout the season.
You get to also call yourself a tournament MVP. What went through your mind when they called your name?
Well, I was extremely grateful for the opportunity. Obviously, I felt like I deserved it in a way, but at the same time, I felt like the team played more of a factor. I don't think it was on myself or one individual. I felt like if someone else was out there, they would have done the same thing and gone through the same opportunities. But yes, extremely grateful for the opportunity.
And now you get an opportunity to extend the season going to Nationals in Fort McMurray. How excited are you for that opportunity?
Yeah, we're extremely excited. We've already, as soon as the game ended, some guys already looking forward to the schedule and seeing who we play and what the matchups could be like. So we're extremely excited to get the ball rolling there and try and show out for all our fans.
In your eyes, what needs to happen to make sure that you guys walk home with some hardware?
Well, we just got to stay patient, I think, is the main thing again. One of our keys to success is how relaxed I think we are going through practices. You're not, like, needing to do anything. You know, you've been working for this moment your whole season, your whole lives. You just have to trust in your abilities and just go out there and do exactly what you know how to do.
Well, wish you the best of luck on that front. Let's get in your baseball past here a little bit. You're originally from the Edmonton area. How'd you get into baseball in the first place?
Well, it's actually one of my three sports. My parents had me going in hockey and tennis and actually let me choose the last sport, which is baseball. And it's just the one that stuck the longest. I felt a connection with it more than the other ones, I guess, and try and keep it going throughout my life.
What was it about baseball that made you go, I want to pick that one, versus being like, okay, I get to play hockey, I get to play tennis, I want to do that one?
Well, definitely watching the Blue Jays growing up, you know, having a Canadian team, especially with the players that we all love, like the Bautistas, Donaldsons, from that era was really great to grow up watching. And then obviously the team aspect is like everyone, especially this year, you know, we all gel together and it's just an amazing atmosphere to be around in the dugout. Even if you're not playing, you feel like part of a family.
Mm-hmm. Was there a moment in time where it kind of clicked for you, where you went, this is a fun game and all, to, hey, I want to chase this thing and go as far as I can with it?
I don't think there was one moment more than the other. Obviously, 13U, I did with the Expos. We went deep and ended up winning provincials in my second year of 13U. Mm-hmm. I felt like that was another one of those moments where it's like, hey, maybe I can give this thing a shot, you know. I felt great, and I would love to feel that feeling again, which we have now.
Oh, for sure. What you mentioned, Donaldson and Bautista, whose poster was up on your wall as a kid?
I was a big Donaldson guy, definitely. Bringer of Rain is
yes.
kind of a sick thing to be around. Yeah, I felt even some of his interviews as famous. If the coach tells you to swing down on the ball, tell him no. That's a great moment, and I really loved his character throughout his time with the Blue Jays.
For sure. On the flip side, we all know baseball is a game of failure. What's been maybe the biggest challenge or hurdle you've had to overcome over your young career?
I feel like biggest hurdle, almost the climate here. You know, you have to do a lot of stuff on your own and really put in the work outside of when you're on the diamond in the summer. Long winters compared to if you were in the States or BC, if we say that. So I definitely feel like the motivation, you have to keep that going and never stop chasing that dream.
For sure. A few fun ones here before we let you go here. First off, when you're at the ballpark as a fan, what's your go-to food?
Oh, food. I would probably have to say hot dog. It's a pretty default answer, but yeah, it's definitely one of the best for sure.
Is there a specific condiment or condiments? Because I know mustard versus ketchup can be a very contentious issue.
I would say I'm more of a mustard guy myself. Actually, I would reach for that first. Yeah.
That's fair. I'm one that goes both and just throws everybody for a loop, which is kind of funny that way. What's your walk-up tune?
I actually go with a rap song. I start with Father, Stretch My Hands, Part 1. I felt like it's one of those, especially as a leadoff hitter, one of those to get the crowd going, you know, feel great before you go up to the bat. So that's definitely one that sticks for me.
That's a good one. And finally, what's your favorite ballpark that you've ever played in or been there as a fan?
Favorite ballpark? Well, obviously, the best answer would probably be Legion Memorial Park, our home diamond, of course. But, no, I've loved playing in lots of places. Obviously, Remax and even more recently, Gulls Field or Okotoks are amazing ballparks to play on, well-maintained, and yeah, they're beautiful diamonds.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. A couple more for you before we let you go. They're the standard ones we ask everybody across the board. For those young fans who are listening in and they want to get to where you're at now, they want to take their game to the next level. If you go back and talk to those kids who are like maybe 10 or 12 and you want to impart some wisdom on them. What do you want to impart upon them?
I would say baseball is a game of failure, as most experienced players know. So just stay positive and keep motivation through. You know, some weekends you might not have your best day. You might go 0 for 4 with 4 infield pop-ups. I've done that myself, but there's always more work to be done. You can always rebound and have the best time of your life after that.
Fantastic stuff. Well, the final one we ask everybody here on the show, what does the game of baseball mean to you?
It means a lot. I picture it as almost my second life away from school or work. It's something that I dream of doing for a long time and going to college with. So, yeah, it's one of my loves.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, Jace, really appreciate you taking the time. Congratulations on the BAEL Championship. Congratulations on the MVP. Best of luck at Nationals and beyond. And again, thanks so much for joining us here on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
And we'll wrap things up this week by heading to Weber Academy for the inaugural Baseball Canada 19U Women's National Championships. As mentioned, Quebec knocked off Ontario for the gold medal, while Saskatchewan claimed bronze with a comeback win over BC. A key piece for the Saskatchewan contingent was Addie Ziebart, who was named the Defensive Player of the tournament. We caught up with the Saskatoon native after she landed in Quebec for the Women's Open Championships coming up later this week. Addie, thanks so much for joining us here on the show.
Yeah, of course.
Baseball Canada U19 National Bronze Medal winners, Baseball Sask. How does that sound?
It was super exciting.
Take us through the tournament first off. Before it even started, did you know that your team had a good chance of getting a medal this time around?
I knew our team had a good chance. We did lose some key players from last year, and we had to bring a couple younger girls, so I wasn't too sure how that would play with it now being the 19U tournament instead of the 21U.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew that we all had a lot of talent and that we definitely had a shot at a medal if we played to our abilities.
Well, and I know a lot of you have played together already, and so it probably made that transition and getting things rolling go pretty well. And I mean, you went 2-2 in the round robin. What's the vibe like in the dugout as you're getting ready for playoffs and you're starting to feel the gelling happen and starting to feel like things are going in the right direction?
Yeah, Team Sask is a really special team. I feel like we have a really great culture on our team. Everyone really gets along and picks each other up, so I feel like there's not a lot of hanging heads, and everyone is there to support one another always.
That's fantastic. Take us into that bronze medal game for a minute. You were down at one point. How do you as a team sort of rally things up and say, hey, we're not out of this, so let's just go?
Yeah, we were down at one point, and it was looking kind of bad. We were all a little down, but we just decided there's nothing really to lose. We know we are able to come back. We've come back before. Team Sask really likes to do that sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I even thought, if we get a few runs this inning, then we'll be all right. We still have another bottom of the inning. We could come back. But then we ended up going on 12-run rally, and we shut them down. So
absolutely. And you record that final out, the celebration ensues, and you can almost feel the sigh of relief happen there. First off, who are you hugging first when the celebration begins?
The first person I hugged was our pitcher, Kendall. I just felt really happy for her. She was new to the 19U team. This was her first time at the tournament, and she was able to go up there, throw strikes, and get us out of that inning with no runs scored.
Not only are you a bronze medalist now, but you were also named the tournament's top defensive player. What went through your mind first off when you heard that you were going to be named with that honor?
It was kind of crazy. We went inside, and I wasn't really expecting it, and then they started reading off the stats of the player who got it, and I kind of just looked over at my family, and I knew in that moment that I got it, and it was a really special feeling.
How much pride goes into something like that? Because it's one thing to be hitting the ball and hitting the skin off of that kind of thing, but to be the defensive player, obviously there's a bit of pride that probably goes along with that as well. Yeah,
it made me feel really special. It made me feel like sometimes baseball's hard, and it feels like all the hard work you put in is kind of for nothing, and you feel like you're not going anywhere. So getting that award really made me feel like I've really put in the hard work for something.
I know you've repped Sask a few times before. You've picked up a few medals along the way as well. What's this one in particular mean to you?
This one was really special because it was my last year at 19U. So I was really hoping we'd come away with something, and it just meant a lot that I was able to do it with some of these teammates that I've been with for quite a few years now.
Mm-hmm. At the same time, what's it like grabbing that yellow and green jersey every time and getting to rep your home province?
I love repping Sask. I really think that we're a special program, and I think that our coaching staff has done a really great job of creating a team that is competitive yet still has a lot of fun.
You're not done yet, obviously. You're in Quebec as we speak right now for the Women's Nationals. How excited are you to get things going with that one?
I'm really excited. I think that we have a really good shot of having a great tournament here.
Speaking of a great tournament, in your mind, what needs to happen over the next few days to make sure you get back on the podium?
I think we really just need to focus on staying disciplined. Whenever we play our best defensively is when we also hit well offensively. When we just stay out of our heads and play the way that Sask does, hard and gritty, then we always turn out on top.
Well, it's been great to watch and looking forward to seeing what's next. Let's go back in the Wayback Time Machine here. I love getting the origin story. How did you get into baseball in the first place?
Well, I got into baseball at the age of 5, and originally my parents were looking into softball, but my mom on the Saskatoon Blue Jays website, it said boys and girls are able to play. So she told my dad, and he was like, well, I'd rather go watch a baseball game. So they put me in baseball, and I've been playing ever since.
Was it all baseball all the time growing up, or did you play a bunch of different sports?
I was originally a figure skater, and I was pretty competitive with that, but I kind of switched at the age of 13 when I made AAA with baseball, and I started going with the provincial team, and that's when I really fell in love with baseball. Give
us a scouting report on Addie, the figure skater. Like, what were you really good at? What did you love about that sport?
Figure skating, I really love the creativity of the sport and just being able to perform. I love that it's an individual sport, and I feel like that's why I love pitching as well, because you just get to be up there and have your moment. I got to go to Sask Winter Games for that, so that was really cool. And yeah.
Absolutely. What was it about baseball that made you go, that's the one I want to chase?
I don't know. I love the team atmosphere of baseball. Figure skating is a very lonely sport, and it's you by yourself all the time, and there's no one to pick you up but yourself. Whereas baseball, you have a team behind you, and it's something just super special about it.
For sure. Looking back on the young career to this point, any favorite memories or moments where you had to take that step back and go, I can't believe I get to do this?
Yeah, my favorite memory was probably my first year at 21U. I had a really great tournament, and it was just, I had just gone back to going to nationals after COVID, and I had only gone to one 16U tournament, and I instantly jumped to the women's in 21U after 2 years off from COVID. And after we got that bronze medal, it was like just an eye-opening thing that like Baseball Sask isn't just like some program that goes and loses every game. Like, we can show up at any tournament and we can win.
For sure. We all know baseball is a game of failure, and so I'd be remiss if I didn't ask, what's been the biggest challenge or hurdle that you've had to overcome during your baseball journey?
Probably the biggest challenge I've had to overcome was not really having the female resources when I was young. I've always played boys baseball for the most part, and while I've had some amazing teammates and amazing teams where I've been included and had a lot of fun, I've also had teams and heckle me. I've had teams that kids would literally refuse to play catch with me, so that was really hard. Sometimes made me feel like quitting ball, but I'm super glad I stuck with it.
Oh, for sure. I mean, how cool has it been to see the evolution of the game to a certain extent too, even in your short time in it? Is now, like you mentioned, there's some resources. There's, girls teams that are starting to pop up around Western Canada. There's a little bit more opportunities, I guess, at younger ages to do some pretty cool things from a female and girls perspective.
Yeah, I think it's really awesome. I think it's great that the younger girls have some people to look up to that aren't necessarily male baseball players. They have other female baseball players that they can look to and say, like, I can do that as well. And there's so many cool opportunities now the younger girls are getting. Like, our 16U team went to Florida, and I know some of them went to Arizona. So that's really awesome for girls baseball in general.
A few fun ones before we let you go, Addie. First off, when you're at the ballpark as a fan, what is your go-to food?
My go-to ballpark food is definitely a hot dog.
And what's the condiments? Because I know mustard and ketchup can be a pretty divisive conversation.
I am just a ketchup person.
Okay, I'm admittedly a both, and it kind of throws some people for a loop, so it's all good. What's your walk-up tune?
My walk-up song is usually $1 Million Baby by Ava Max.
All right. And lastly, who's your baseball idol?
My baseball idol would probably be Marcus Stroman. I loved him growing up just because he was smaller in stature, and so am I, and he's still able to make the big leagues and pitch a great career.
So how much of you is sitting there going, seeing that he got released, going, come on, Blue Jays, just bring him back for one more good run?
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Oh, man, awesome. A couple more before we let you go. They're the ones we ask all the athletes here. First off, those young girls or those young ball players that want to be where you're at now, repping Sask or maybe thinking about a future beyond baseball, what's that one piece of advice or those words of wisdom to maybe help them get to the next level?
I would say stick with yourself, like be yourself. People are going to tell you can't do it, especially in a sport that's still quite male-dominated like baseball, and people are going to try and bring you down. But if you just keep pushing and you put your heart into it, you can do anything on the diamond that you put your mind to.
And you've done that in spades so far, Addie. Looking forward to what's to come. Final question for you. What's a game of baseball mean to you?
Baseball is my life. It means everything to me. I live, eat, and breathe baseball, so it literally consumes me.
Well, it's been an honor getting to share a little bit about your journey in the game, Addie. Congratulations on all the success you've had at this point. Continued success at the Women's Nationals and beyond. And again, thanks so much for joining us here on the show.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
Thanks again to Ian Wilson, Jace Richardson, and Addie Ziebart for joining us this week. And thanks to all of you for downloading and listening. We're hoping to have a special bonus episode for you this weekend to preview the second round of the WCBL playoffs. Then we'll have another episode to preview the WCBL Championship Series next Thursday. And just like this episode, we'll be breaking down some of the other national championship news and notes as well. So make sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a moment of the action. As always, a tip of the cap to our Platinum supporters, the Okotoks Dogs, Under the Lights Sports and Entertainment, and the Western Canadian Baseball League for their continued generosity in helping us tell the game stories in our province. For more on our tremendous teammates and to join our roster of sponsors, head to albertadugoutstories.com/supporters. Until next time, thank you for all of your support online, on social, and on air of Alberta Dugout Stories.